Minnesota Governor Tim Walz is back on the campaign trail after holding his first solo campaign event since joining the Democratic ticket. The vice presidential nominee is making stops in Denver and Boston today, and it's part of this week's cross-country tour consisting of events in 5 states. The Republican ticket is also on the campaign trail today. Former President Donald Trump is looking to reinvigorate his campaign with a stop in North Carolina to discuss the economy. His running mate, Ohio Senator JD Vance, is in Michigan. And Trump is facing some criticism from people on both sides of the aisle over his recent rhetoric. Former Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley issued some harsh comments about what she would like to see from the former president on the trail.
Quit whining about her. We knew it was going to be her. I want this campaign to win. But the campaign is not going to win talking about crowd sizes.
CBS News political director Finn Gomez is covering the race for us from our Washington bureau. So, Finn, good to see you here. Why is this approach seemingly failing against Vice President Harris? And how would you describe it as failing?
What I've been hearing from those close to Trump and in Trump world, specifically on the messaging and the strategy that they're currently utilizing against Harris, is that it's not working. Frankly, because of the attacks that have been more towards of a personal nature, going after, as Nikki Haley essentially laid out in her interview, going after, the comparisons of crowd size, going after her for a lack of doing interviews, or going after her for even on race, on those sorts of issues. It's what I've been hearing is that there's been a push and some frustration that former President Trump and his campaign aren't focused on the issues that Republicans feel that they can win on, which are immigration, on the border, and on the economy, as you just heard from Jolene Kent. They feel that the more they focused on those issues, that Trump can have a better upswing than what we've been seeing in the last few weeks, where he's had some bad weeks, while Harris and her campaign have been really capturing that momentum. And you've seen it not only in, from the enthusiasm from the size of her crowds, but also you're seeing it in polling and in fundraising numbers.
Yeah, I mean, they only have so much time to try and define Kamala Harris. He's sort of tested a few things, Crooked Kamala, the Kamala crash. But let's talk about this message of the economy. It's going to be a focus for both campaigns. We know that President Biden wasn't polling as well as Trump in that regard, but we know that the former president has an event in Raleigh today. Vice President Harris will give remarks later this week as well. What should we expect to hear from both camps? We know this is an issue voters want to hear about.
It is, and that is the theme of the week, if you will, is the economy. Yes, former President Trump has a rally in North Carolina today, this afternoon. It is going to be focused on the economy. It's an issue that he's been leading on. When you look at polling throughout the cycle, it's something that his campaign believes they have a strength on, a financial strength, and also because they point to the nostalgia of the late term the latter part of his term, really around the 2019 period when the economy was doing well. However, you have seen in at least some polling, you've seen that Vice President Harris has not only really increased her momentum on some of those key issues that we talked about earlier, but also on the economy. There was an AP poll that came out 2 days ago that showed that she was at essentially even in a dead heat on that issue. So with that said, as you mentioned, she also has a big economy rollout coming, speech rollout coming this Friday, also in North Carolina. Obviously, that's a battleground state. But the Trump campaign feels that the more they focus on this issue, that there's more of a potential for political gain, because they want to contrast their position with what they believe is a failing one with the Biden administration. And so the more they can tie her in to President Biden and the economy, even if it is doing better along some indicators, they feel that they can win on that issue. We'll see if that works.
Okay, Finn Gomez, thank you so much. We will hear a lot more from Finn Gomez and the rest of our political team when the Democratic National Convention kicks off next week. CBS News will have special coverage of the events in Chicago starting this Monday at 5 p.m. Eastern.